يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Once again, mu'minin and mu'minat, we cannot thank Almighty Allah for giving us another day, another night to continue seeking the understanding of our faith, most especially the jurisprudential aspect of it, with the sole aim of perfecting ourselves and becoming true slaves and servants of Allah. What I seek to do tonight, inshallah, is to discuss three things. These three things, I think we discussed them before, but there were so many questions sent to me from the brothers and sisters to shed more light and to clarify certain things. The first one is a very simple one. The importance of Salatul Jumah. And why do we have more emphasis in Islam when it comes to Salatul Jumah? Second one is the way and manner to join congregational prayers. How do you pray behind an imam? How do I conduct myself? What is it that if I do, I'm okay? What is it that if I do or I don't do, my salat behind that imam may be regarded as Salatul Farada, individual salat, or that salat may be invalid. And the last one, inshallah, is praying sitting on the chair. How do I do it? How do I go about it? When am I allowed to pray sitting on a chair? And when am I not allowed to do so? So inshallah, let's discuss this. And if there are questions after that, we'll open for your questions. The first one, kindly pay attention, brothers and sisters, is the importance of Salatul Jama'ah. We have traditions from the holy prophets and Ahlul Bayt when it comes to the rewards of praying in a congregation. The first common and known tradition to all of us, which is an authentic tradition, that praying congregationally has 25 reward compared to praying individually. Meaning when I pray individually and I'm able to do it right, I get one reward. But when I pray congregationally, I get 25 reward. Obviously the 25, we don't know how to measure the 25. The tradition is not telling us. It's just your numerical numbers. You just count up to 25. But it is to highlight the importance of congregational prayers. Because when you pray behind an imam, there are certain mistakes the imam will take care of. That's the benefit when we examine this particular tradition from our beloved Prophet. Number two, when you go to Fiqh, jurisprudence, like you read the Masail of our great scholars, our Maraji, you realize that when discussing congregational prayers, the first thing that the Marja will emphasize on is the importance of congregational prayers. And it will tell us that it is recommended to participate in congregational prayers. We are even encouraged that we should be patient to go for congregational prayers. Moreover, you can delay. I think I mentioned this before, but I received so many questions and queries on this, and I thought it's a very simple thing. Congregational prayers can be delayed, not over delayed, but it can be delayed. It is allowed to have good number of people. And when it is delayed and an individual offers his or her prayers, maybe on the dot, that Salatul Jama'ah is more rewarding than that individual prayers. To such an extent, if, for example, during Salatul Jama'ah, the imam is too quick. Some imams are very quick. It's still much better than the individual prayers. Because sometimes you come, imams are very quick. It's still okay. And the reward of that is more than praying as an individual. Another aspect to appreciate the importance of Salatul Jama'ah is that, say you done with your prayers as an individual. Maybe in the house you pray, or you come here earlier and you pray. Say you are about to go out, or no, you're sitting doing something, and then you realize Salatul Jama'ah is happening. Can you join? Yes. And you will get the reward of Salatul Jama'ah. And if in case, may Allah forbid, the Salat you pray individually, there was some mistakes in it, at least this Salatul Jama'ah takes care of it. But now question. Say for example, you are done with Salatul Jama'ah, congregational prayers. And then there's going to be another congregational prayers. Can you follow? We don't have a teaching on that. But yes, they said you can follow with the intention of Raja al-Matlubiyah, seeking nearness to Allah, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Especially neighbors to the mosque. I'm sure you know this tradition, but this tradition is just to encourage us that Salat of the neighbor to the mosque in his or her house, or in his house, ladies, different masail. It is not accepted until and unless that neighbor prays in the mosque. Obviously, UK, there's one mas'ala in UK, it may not be applicable to us much. But another part of the world, it's a neighbor of the mosque is the one who can hear the adhan of the mosque. If you can hear the adhan of the mosque, you are a neighbor. You have to go and pray. Because you pray in individual, you are spiritually risking. Because 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yes, if it is for a reason beyond your control, then that's an excuse not to go for Salatul Jama'ah. But one thing I need to mention here, you see Haji Mahbub, mashallah, is doing very well keeping this Salatul Jama'ah here. This is not a mosque. This Hussainiya, this Imam Barga, still Salatul Jama'ah is highly encouraged. But when it becomes, or it comes to a mosque, it becomes something else. Because what gives life to mosque is Salatul Jama'ah. So inshallah, this spirit in future has to continue when you have a mosque. Especially Fajr, Zuhur, Asr, Maghrib, this Salat are highly recommended you do it in the mosque. So may Allah reward Haji Mahbub and his team, inshallah. Now the second question I received, which I think is more important, not saying that the first one is not important, but this one is really important. The conditions or the how and about of joining congregational prayers. That one, you may forgive me, there are so many mistakes Mu'mineen still do. And I remember we spent many time discussing this. But you can't blame people, because we are human beings, people are busy with their lives. That's why fiqh is one thing you need to keep reminding one another. We need to keep reminding ourselves. And I remember mentioning here, try it if you don't have the masail of your marja, because you are not of the same marja. Majority of us definitely are doing Sistani, but not all of us are doing Sistani. I know for a fact. Have the book of your marja. So sometimes just open randomly. And today we have it on our cell phones. Sometimes just open. You don't have to wait to face the challenge before you start opening. When you inculcate that, like that, and then you open. When you are faced with challenge, you may either already know the answer, or when you go to the masail, it becomes easier. Although, I must admit, sometimes the masail also are not that easy when you read to understand. Some of it are very complex. But try to have the book of your marja or a digital copy of it. It's so important. Now, Salatul Jama'ah, Mu'minin and Mu'minat, has its conditions and rulings. When those conditions are met, then the Salat is congregational, and you'll be given the reward of praying in congregation. But if those conditions are not met, then the Salat will be the Salat of Furada. First condition of Salatul Jama'ah, you know it very well, is Imam. The one who leads you in Salat. And the requirements of an Imam are few, really. The first one, the Imam must be adil, just. How? You know, in his dealings, is fair. That's one. Not to scrutinize too much into that, no. Generally, you know, he treats people well. He treats his family well. He's okay, generally. Number two, obviously, is akil. You know it very well. He's matured. And number three is in a good frame of mind. And the four, which is the most important, is that he knows how to lead Salah. He knows how to recite. He knows in the middle of the Salah, if he makes mistake, he's not going to let people start wondering what's going to happen. These are the conditions of Imam. For example, you come to pray, and the one leading, you don't trust him. It happens. Islam doesn't force me to trust everyone, really. This is an individual thing. Wallah, nobody forces you to trust anyone. In Islam, don't try to force yourself to trust somebody. We don't have that in Islam. Especially when it comes to Salah. You trust, fine. You don't trust, you don't have to make it public to the whole Birmingham. I don't trust. You've got your judgment. Stick to your judgment. Unless if somebody asks you about that person. I'm talking about Salah. I'm not talking of generally stuff. So for example, you come to pray and you don't trust this person. Or while you are praying, you're like, no, this person, I don't trust him. You can change your niyyah to Furada. And then you pray your Salat, you go your way, you get the reward of Furada, and then he goes his way. Because you may not trust, but other 100 people trust him. And because of you alone, we cannot say we're not going to ask. I know very well here, Ajmabu, of course, he knows. There are people in Salat, I receive call many times. No, this person, you don't trust me. Some people trust him. Even myself, not everybody trusts me. Wallah. I've never heard that, but I know for a fact. But Prophet Mohammed, the entire world don't trust Prophet. How many people sin against Allah? Leave that. Sayyid Sistani, how many people, even in this community, not everybody trusts Sayyid Sistani. How many people question the Masail of Sayyid Sistani here? We know them, we engage them always, but you cannot force anybody, understand? So you come to pray, to cut long story short, you don't trust the person, that's fine. You can make your niyyah of Farada, and you know what you need to do when it comes to Farada. You recite your Fatiha, you recite your Surah, you do everything. But secretly, not loudly. That's one. Two, you need to be able to identify the Imam you are following. It's not a must to know the name of that Imam. But you need to be able to identify that I'm praying Salat behind an Imam. That is very, very important. To be in that state of mind when you do Salatul Jama'ah. That's two. Three is obvious. You cannot pray in front of the Imam. Ma'mun has to always be behind the Imam. And 4, Imam cannot be higher than the Ma'mum unless it's something insignificant. But otherwise, Imam cannot be higher when it comes to standing. But Ma'mun can be higher so long as the connection is okay. Now, when it comes to connection, brothers and sisters, this is very, very important. Sometimes, like you look at our Jumah, it's packed. Not everybody can even see the Imam. Rows here behind, still okay so long as the connection is there. To such an extent, say for example, I know there was a time we opened here and people were praying there. So the person who is standing in front of the door, so long as there's somebody praying behind him with the connection, is still okay. Now, when you pray behind the Imam, brothers and sisters, sometimes your connection may be a child or a Sunni who is not Isna Ashari. Does it break the connection? Not at all. So long as, this child is not playful, they call him Mumayyiz. Mumayyiz is what? A child who is able to differentiate between right and wrong. And the child is not playful during the Salat to the extent that you can say, you know what? This child is not praying well. Mumayyiz, it is allowed. Likewise, when the link to your link to Imam is the Sunni, meaning when it comes to connection. So long as the person is praying according to his mazhab and is not making mistake, that link is still there. Because Jumah, we have few number of Sunnis who come to our Jumah. I'm sure some of you know. They come and they pray. Some of them are working around here. Some here. They come for Jumah, they pray with us. And I receive these questions. Is my connection? Yes, your connection is okay. Unless if the person does something to mean that the Salat is invalid, then your connection becomes a problem. Now, the distance between the Imam and the Ma'mun and between the Ma'mumin and the Ma'mumin on the first level should not be something long. If you read the Masail of almost all our Maraji, really, it should not be more than 1 foot, not be more than a step. In other words, where Imam stands to the Sajida position of the Ma'mun. Likewise, between all the rows. If it is too wide, then of course, it tempers with the ruling of the connection of your Salah. 4, there shouldn't be any obstruction between Imam, the Ma'mun, and between Ma'mumin themselves, between the rows. Obstruction can be anything. For example, you want to put this chair between Imam and the one behind the Imam, the follower. Or a curtain, for example, you put. That will affect the connection and you following the Imam. It is only allowed with the ladies. Ladies, you can put curtain here, they are behind or building, so long as the connection is there and it is allowed. That is not a problem. Now the trickiest part is this one. When do you do Takbiratul Ihram after Imam? Because I got this question like more than 10 people ask me this question on my WhatsApp. You see, when Imam says Takbiratul Ihram, those in the first row are very important. Those in the second, third, fourth, fifth, you need to monitor those in the first row. When do you do? You are allowed to do when those in the first row make attempt to do. You don't have to wait for them. But yes, based on recommended precaution. You remember I discussed obligatory precaution and recommended precaution before Arba'in. Based on recommended precaution, wait for the first row to do takbir before the second row do takbir. That's the accuracy of Salah. We're talking of accuracy here. So Imam says, Allahu Akbar. The first row, Allahu Akbar. But once they make an attempt, they want to do, you can all do Allah. You don't have to wait because some people may be waiting, reciting some du'as, I don't know. And you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait really. But they said the recommended precaution, there is no problem. What do? You just do Allahu Akbar. Now, with recitations, this also I mentioned. 5 questions people send me on this. Baba, when you pray behind an imam, you will not recite Fatiha and the Surah. Remember this, don't forget. You're not going to recite Fatiha and the Surah in all the Salat. There are instances where you are allowed to recite Fatiha, and so I will mention that, inshallah. Apart from Fatiha and Surah, all must be recited. Of course, Allah Akbar is mustahab. If you don't do Allah Akbar, apart from Takbiratul Ihram, it's okay. Takbiratul Ihram is wajib, but any other Allah Akbar is mustahab. I can go. That's no problem. My salat is okay. Wallah. But obviously, if you're an imam, you will confuse people. They will not, they will not know what you are doing. So, Fatiha Surah, you leave it for the imam to take care of it. Tasbihatul Arba'a, you have to recite, Habibi. Either one or three. When you recite two, you must recite the third one. So you have to recite. I see people, they're quiet. Although we are not encouraged to recite loudly. You know, some people, they are whispering. It's like they are giving majlis. You know, because you confuse. One or three. One or three. Barabar. Yeah, not two. So, Tasbiyat al-Arba, you do. Zikr in ruku and sujood, you do. Imam is not taking care of that on your behalf. Tashahhud, you do. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa wahdahu la sharika lah, so that you are involved in the salah. But sometimes you see people, they sit in tashahhud, they're quiet. You don't become quiet. You need to try to recite because you are following Imam. When am I allowed to recite Fatiha or Surah or Fatiha and Surah? It's when you don't hear Imam at all. You can't hear him. Alhamdulillah, in this day and age, most places, you don't have that privilege. But we go to certain places in Africa, in Pakistan, and other places, they don't have the luxury of sound system, actually. Seriously, they don't have. And if it is parked, Imam will be reciting and nobody. So if you can't hear the recitation of the Imam, of course you are allowed to recite. Or you hear some part of the recitation of the Imam and you don't hear certain part. Masail says, complete the parts. You do not hear Imam reciting. That's very, very important. Take note of that. When you pray behind Imam, whether Jumah or any other Salah. Now, can I go to Ruku before Imam? No. People, they are going to Ruku before Imam. Wallah, I'm telling you. Don't be in a hurry. Yes, you can go alongside Imam together. As Imam is going and you are going, you are allowed. There is no problem. But the preferred way is to wait for the Imam to go. That's the preferred way. But otherwise, Imam is going to Ruku, same time you are going. There's nothing wrong with that. Your salat is okay. If he intentionally, this is very important, because by mistake, no big deal. By mistake, it doesn't invalidate your salah. But if intentionally, I go to Ruku or even Sujood before Imam, or I rise from Ruku or Sujood before Imam, intentionally, underline that. The salat is battle of the Jamaat. But by mistake, that there is nothing to worry about. That's that. Yeah, I think these are the questions. Let's go to the last one and then we can open for questions. Yeah, that's for Salatul Jama'ah. And the other thing really I need to point out here is try to perfect your recitation as an individual also. Practice recitation on your own. Because somebody asked me, how do I practice my recitation? I said, you can individually, it's easy. Today we are in a global village. Online, you sit on YouTube, you Quran, Fatiha recitation, and Salat of Shia, you check online. There are so many tutorials online when it comes to Salat of Shia, when it comes to recitation. That we need to, inshallah, get it right. So that is for Salat. How many minutes left? Lovely. Now we go to the last one, which inshallah Jumah, remember we discuss it. One day I will come senior citizens and then we discuss into details the salat for sitting on the chair. Yeah. But I need to discuss this because it's very important. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You see, it is obligatory, wajib, to pray standing. Wajib. Meaning what? I cannot pray sitting because of tiredness. Salat is batil. It's not accepted. So any salat you prayed sitting because of your tiredness or nostalgic, you have to pay back that salah. Praying sitting has nothing to do with I'm tired. It has nothing to do, I feel today, I sit a lot at work and my back, like Muslim, dentist, you see too much.
If anybody is parked outside in double yellow line, there are traffic wardens outside.
Okay, so if anybody has parked outside, but the traffic warden will hear me announce it.
No, he's on the Clifton Road.
Okay, traffic warden is on the Clifton Road. Go remove your car, jaldi. So inshallah, try not to keep your car. So, I cannot pray sitting because I'm tired. Or because I had a bad day. We don't have something like that. Now, this is the tricky part of it, which I think most of us, we confuse about it. And the fact that I pray sitting doesn't mean that everything has to be sitting. It doesn't mean that way. If you are able to stand during Takbiratul Ihram, you must stand during Takbiratul Ihram. You gotta say, no, I see it, but I see you walking, entering the mosque. Every day you enter. Nobody brings anyone with wheelchair. Apart from Tuesday, of course, we have people who come on wheelchair. So if you are able to stand, one, for Takbiratul Ihram, for Qira'ah, meaning Fatiha and Surah, I will keep 3 minutes. And before Ruku, then I should be able to stand. If no, I cannot. I can only stand for Takbiratul Ihram, then I should stand for Takbiratul Ihram, then I sit and continue with my salah. If you can stand to do Takbir and Qira'ah, why not? Bismillah. So now, let's say I cannot stand. It's very difficult for me to stand. How do I pray sitting? Two important acts. Ruku and sujood. These are two important acts. I need to get it right. If I do not get it right, then my salat is invalid. And there are different ways you can do it. We have preferable way, we have recommended ways, we have normal way, correct, there is no problem. So we do for ruku and then we come to sujood. When it comes to ruku, my dear brothers and sisters, and you have your circumstance, which is very difficult, you can only sit and do your ruku. The number one, which is really the most important, if you can do that, is what? You bend the upper part of your body down. I think we did it, we demonstrated it before. Down. And then up. Then sajda you can go. I will explain the sajda. If you cannot go down, then at least a little bit. Ruku. Then you go sujood. If you can't do this at all, then gesture. That's ruku for you. And we have a masail, as I will discuss it. If nothing at all, with the lenses, the movement of your lenses, it is also allowed. But it depends on your circumstance. So that's one. Now sujood, you have to make sure all these are on the ground. Proper. Not like you are doing sujood on a chair like this. The most preferred one is what? Like what you have your turba there. On the turba. On the turba. If that is not possible, you can hold the turba and do on the turba. That is allowed. It's recommended. If for whatever reason this is not, because everybody has his own circumstance in terms of livelihood, you know your sickness, you don't know somebody's sickness. Everybody has his own thing. That is not possible, then gesture. And Allah is happy with that. And there is no problem. But it is not an excuse, brothers and sisters, to come and start sitting on a chair because you have a small knee problem. I don't know whether you've seen the video of Ayatollah Khoi. May Allah elevate his status in Dar al-Akhirah. There was a time, said Khoi, was difficult for him to stand. What would he do? He would hold something and stand. There's a video going around, which is a true video. Even Hausa, they use that video to teach fiqh in most cases. Said Khoi will be struggling holding something and will be standing. That's why we have a masail. Even if you are to stand holding something or somebody holding you, you should do so. Or even doing ruku, if you have to take help of something to do ruku, it is much better. So sitting completely, it means one has reached a certain level where because of certain health condition, you cannot sit. And then Islam says, you know what? There is no problem. In fact, even you can pray sleeping, lying on, not sleeping, you lying. Islam has always provided us with a way. That's why they said, ad-din yusrun la bi'usr. Religion is so easy, wallah, brothers and sisters. Religion is not difficult. You know when it becomes difficult? That's the topic I will discuss on Friday. When people don't want to make taqlid. You know, those who give us headache are those who don't want to make taqlid. Wallah, seriously. You know what? They start stressing you only when they have fiqh problem. Small drop of fiqh problem. Because the person is not doing taqlid. Taqlid, personally, I'm talking from my own personal experience. It's one of the best things that has happened in my life. To me. Wallahi. Because back days where we came from, there was no taqlid as such. You have to follow those who came centuries ago, you know, who were some of them students of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. You see? But then when we realize there's taqlid, it makes life easier. So anyone who doesn't do taqlid, I'm not saying follow blindly. Find out. Ask difficult questions. Try to understand. Why taqlid? Why do we need marja during this time of the major occultation? Now, do you have a few minutes? Okay, one question or two questions. So to make it misk. Without question, it doesn't work out that way. Two questions. Also, quickly, jaldi, jaldi. Now.
Does he, correct me if I'm wrong, does he not have to be of legitimate birth and circumcised?
Solid, man. No, he can't know Hajj Mabu. Yeah, of course, you are right. I'm sure you heard the question, isn't it? No, he's talking of the, the person who leads us. He always asks some very difficult questions. No, I'm convert. I'm also convert, my brother. No, don't worry, I understand. No, I'm joking. No, he's saying that Imam who leads Salah, does he have to be from a Al-Zada? Yes, of course. Yes. But how do you know? How do you know? How you follow people with torchlight again? Ajibabu say, Imam Ali said 70 excuses. No, but how will you? No, that one you ask me later. I cannot mention that on the member. It's too difficult for me to mention that. No, but alhamdulillah, all our imams, they were from legend. Last question, last. Salama, uncle. Mustahab.
When you're driving,
Yes.
let's say you stand on the stop sign.
Yes.
And you have to turn right.
Yes.
So, Qibla is not important.
Yeah.
Like say, if you turn your head right or left,
Yes.
driving, it's okay, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. You know, mustahab salat, like namaz shab, or any mustahab salat of the day. If you want to pay back during the day, but you have to be careful, don't go and knock somebody. You have to follow the regulations. Yeah, because now you don't say I'm worshiping Allah, so the rule doesn't apply. No, Allah says you have. Yeah. No, you can, because Qibla is not a condition. You know, if you go to Hausa, for example, Qom, or even Najaf. Yeah, you can turn left and right. There's no problem. It doesn't matter. Because if you have to follow one direction doing the salah, that's when the car turns this way. You cannot continue with your salah. But no, when you turn, you can. But I'm just watching the green light and the red light. Which salat? Yeah. You pray. You can omit the mustahabat, because in salat we have mustahab within mustahab. You can omit all those and do the bare minimum, which is the wajibat. Yeah, Ahsan. Last one. Now. Oh yes, very good question. Very good question. Yeah. The recitation. No. So I mentioned earlier on, but you mentioned a very good point. So in Zuhr and Asr, you can't hear the Imam, but still you don't recite Fatiha in Surah. You don't. You can keep quiet, but if you feel like you have too much in your mind because of the stress of the world, you can do some tasbih and then subhanallah, you know, that's okay. So in a case where you can't hear the Imam at all, then obviously you have to recite. Yes, you have to recite, yeah. Inshallah. Fatiha for marhumin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah.